October 14, 1943, 28,000 feet above Germany. The cold is a physical enemy. It is minus 40 degrees inside the cockpit of the B-17 Flying Fortress Royal Flush. Captain Robert Rosenthal of the 100th Bomb Group, the bloody 100th, stamps his feet, the thick fleece of his boots doing little to stop the numbness. His oxygen mask feels frozen to his face. Outside, the sky is a painful crystalline blue, scarred by the chalk-white contrails of 300 heavy bombers. This is the 8th Air Force, a mailed fist of American industrial might, punching deep into the heart of the Reich. Their target, the ball-bearing factories at Schweinfurt. Sound, crackle of radio, distant puffing flak. A voice, strained by the oxygen system, crackles in Rosenthal's headset. "Bandits! Bandits! 2 o'clock high. Christ, there's hundreds of them." Rosenthal's stomach drops. He looks left. The escorts, the P-47 Thunderbolts, the little friends, are gone. They are at the limit of their endurance. Their drop tanks are empty, and they are turning for home. The bombers are alone, and the wolves are here. Music, sharp, violent sting. The roar of DB605 and BMW 801 engines is the moment the Jagdflieger, the German fighter pilots, live for. This is their airspace. They climb in their Messerschmitt Bf 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s, vectoring from ground controllers who have tracked the bombers for an hour. They ignore the retreating P-47s. They want the fat cows. Major Egan Meyer of Jagdgeschwader 2 rolls his F-190 inverted, high above the formation. He sees the American combat box tighten up, a hedgehog of 50 caliber machine guns. It looks intimidating. It is a lie. Angriff. He orders, attack. The 109s dive in pairs, cannons blazing, aiming for the vulnerable cockpit. But the 190s, the butcher birds, try a different tactic. They fly parallel to the bomber stream, just out of gun range. Then, they rocket forward, a 120 mile/hour closing speed, unleashing 20 mm and 30 mm cannon fire in a devastating head-on pass. The B-17, a 30-ton Fortress, has less than 2 seconds to react. Sound, 2 OMM cannons hitting aluminum, explosions in the cockpit of Royal Flush. Rosenthal sees the bomber to his right, Havre go, simply disintegrate. An FW-190, passing so close he can see the pilot's face, rakes it from nose to tail. The B-17's wing snaps off, and it tumbles into the formation, a flaming wreck. "Look it and fall," a waist gunner whispers over the intercom, a prayer of terror. The sky is filled with fire, parachutes, and falling men. This is the second Schweinfurt raid. By the time the survivors limp back to England, 60 flying fortresses are gone. 600 men are lost. It is a 20% loss rate. It is unsustainable. It is Black Thursday. Back at 8th Air Force Headquarters at High Wycombe, the mood is funereal. General I.R. Aker and his staff face a terrible truth. The bomber mafia theory is dead. The B-17 cannot defend itself. The P-38 Lightning has the range, but its engines are unreliable in the deep cold of 30,000 feet. The P-47 Thunderbolt is a tank, a magnificent brawler, but it is a gas hog. It cannot reach Schweinfurt, let alone the most prized target of all, Berlin. The Luftwaffe aces know it. Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring is confident. He has assured his Führer that no Allied fighter will ever be seen over the capital. The 8th Air Force is being bled to death. They are grounded. They need a miracle. They need a fighter that doesn't exist, but it does exist. It's sitting on airfields in England, flown by the RAF. It's called the Mustang. And everyone, including the Germans, thinks it's a failure. Early 1943, RAF Duxford, England. It's called the North American Mustang Mk1, and to the pilots of the Royal Air Force, it's a disappointment. It was born of a British Purchasing Commission request in 1940. North American Aviation, led by Dutch Kindelberger, promised a new fighter in 120 days. They delivered. And on paper, it was a marvel. Its laminar flow wing was a masterpiece of aerodynamics. But it had a fatal flaw, an American heart. The Allison V1710 engine. Sound. A sputtering, straining aircraft engine at high altitude. Squadron leader Janusz Zorakowski, a Polish test pilot flying with the RAF, takes the Mustang up. Below 10,000 feet, it is a hot rod. It's faster than a Spitfire, faster than a 109. He can zip across the fields of occupied France on a rhubarb ground attack mission, shoot up a train, and be home before the flak crews even brew their coffee. But the moment he tries to climb, the plane dies. At 15,000 feet, the Allison engine, with its single-stage supercharger, runs out of breath. It becomes, as one pilot famously says, a dog. It hits the wall. It cannot intercept the high-flying FW-190s or BF-109s that are slaughtering the B-17s. Americans use it too, as the A-36 Apache, or Invader, a dive bomber. It's a mud mover. A truck. The Luftwaffe aces know this. They have encountered it. In a Jad Jeshwater briefing room, an intelligence officer shows a silhouette of the P-51. The pilots, men with 50 or 60 kills, almost laugh. The Mustang, one says, it is a thoroughbred at the wrong altitude. It is no threat to us. Let them have their toy. We will wait for the Wehrmacht's 4 engines at 25,000 feet. It is a failed interceptor. The USAAF, desperate for a long-range solution, has all but given up on it, focusing instead on flawed P-38s and thirsty P-47s. Music, a single, curious piano note, but in April 1942, an RAF test pilot named Ronnie Harker is given a Mustang to evaluate. He feels the same thing Zorakowski did. The surging power on the deck, the crisp, beautiful handling, and then the asthmatic gasping above 15,000 feet. But Harker doesn't dismiss the plane. He feels the airframe. He recognizes the genius of its low-drag design. After his flight, he writes a memo. It is one of the most important memos of the air war. He writes that the Mustang is a brilliant design, handicapped by a dud engine. He suggests, almost casually, that it would be a license to kill if they fitted it with the new Rolls-Royce Merlin 60 series engine, the high-altitude, 2-stage supercharged heart of the new Spitfire, MKX. The idea is radical. A bastard child. An American airframe with a British heart. In Hucknall, England, Rolls-Royce engineers, on their own initiative, get their hands on 5 Mustangs. They begin surgery. They call it the Mustang X program. It is a nightmare. The Merlin is a different shape. The plumbing is all wrong. They have to redesign the entire engine bay, the radiators, the cowling. Simultaneously, back in California, North American Aviation gets the same idea. They begin their own frantic conversion. The result is the XP-51B. October 30th, 1942. Muroc Dry Lake, California. North American test pilot Bob Chilton climbs into the cockpit of this new hybrid. It looks like a Mustang, but the sleek razorback fuselage now has a deep, powerful chin. He starts the engine. Sound. The deep, rumbling, liquid-smooth throat of a Merlin engine. It's not the Allison's mechanical clatter. This is a roar. This is the sound of a thoroughbred. Chilton taxis and takes off. The climb is good. He passes 10,000 feet. He passes 15,000 feet, the altitude where the old Mustang died. He waits for the wall. It never comes. Music, soaring, triumphant orchestral swell. At 17,000 feet, the Merlin's second-stage supercharger automatically kicks in. Chilton is slammed back in his seat. The plane doesn't just climb, it leaps forward. The altimeter needle spins like a clock. 20,000 feet, 25,000 feet, 30,000 feet. He levels off at 30,000 feet. He is faster than a Spitfire. He is faster than a BF-109. He is faster than a Focke-Wulf 190. He is, in this moment, the fastest man in the sky. This is not a ground attack plane. This is not a failed interceptor. This is a war winner. But there is one more problem. Speed and altitude are useless without range. Berlin is still 600 miles from England. Even this new P-51B, with its standard fuel, can't make it. Back at 8th Air Force, the new commander, General Jimmy Doolittle, the man who led the raid on Tokyo, sees the reports. He knows this is his weapon. Get it, he orders. And find a way to get it to Berlin. The solution is found. A new 85-gallon fuel tank, crammed into the fuselage right behind the pilot's seat. It is unarmored. It is literally a bomb strapped to the pilot's back. The pilots will call it the keg. They now have the fighter. They have the range. They have the pilots. The order is given. The little friends are going all the way. March 6, 1944, 30,000 feet, just west of Berlin. Hauptmann, Captain Rolf Schiller, an expert with 40 kills, scans the sky from the cockpit of his Messerschmitt Bf 109 G6. His Staffel is climbing to intercept. Below, he sees the fat cows, the B-17s, a massive formation of nearly 700 bombers. This is the deepest penetration the Americans have ever dared. They are attacking the Hauptstadt Berlin. Schiller smirks, his breath fogging the inside of his oxygen mask. The P-47s turned back an hour ago, just as his ground controller predicted. The bombers are naked. This will be a Schlachtfest, a slaughter. Grid Square 05 Ost. The controller crackles. Contact. Wehrmacht's dead ahead. No escorts. Understood, Schiller replies, arming his 20mm cannon. We are engaging. He rolls his 109 over, leading his men in a high-side pass. He picks his target, a B-17 on the edge of the formation. He dives. Tracer. Where? Schiller slams his stick to the left, his 109 snapping into a violent evasive turn. A stream of fire rips past his canopy, so close he can hear the thwack-thwack as rounds tear through his wingman's fuselage. His wingman explodes. Where did he come from? His radio screams. Schiller pulls out of his dive, his heart hammering. He looks up. It's not a P-47. It's not a P-38. It's a Mustang. Impossible, Schiller mutters. They cannot be here. They are ground attackers. He is staring at the new P-51B, flown by a pilot from the 354th Fighter Group, the Pioneer Mustang Group. This is their mission. This is what they were built for. The Mustang pilot, Lieutenant James Sully Sullivan, has been flying for 3 hours. The keg, the 85-gallon tank behind his seat, is now empty. He has dropped his wind tanks. He is light, he is high, and he is lethal. Schiller, an ace, is not afraid. He pulls his 109 into a steep vertical climb, a classic Luftwaffe tactic. He knows the Allison Mustang would stall and fall away. This Mustang doesn't. The P-51B, its Merlin engine roaring, climbs with him. It hangs on his tail. Schiller is stunned. The Mustang is outclimbing him at 30,000 feet. He chops his throttle and throws his 109 into a split S, diving away. The Mustang stays with him. The American pilot is not just a shepherd. He is a hunter. This is the new reality. This is General Doolittle's revolution. The orders have changed. It is no longer stay with the bombers. The new order. Fighters are released. Seek out and destroy the enemy. Across the sky, the scenario is repeated. The Jagdflieger, arriving to feast on the bombers, find themselves in a desperate fight for their own lives. They are not just being fended off. They are being hunted. The German pilots had a name for the area where the old escorts turned back. They called it Jagdflieger Paradies, Fighter Pilot Paradise. The P-51 just shut it down. Meanwhile, in the B-17s, the crews watch in disbelief. My God, a waist gunner from the 95th Bomb Group says over the intercom, his voice cracking. Little friends, They're still with us. They're all still with us. For the first time, bomber crews see the silver-nosed fighters with their checkerboard tails, above them, below them, and ranging far ahead of them, diving into the German formations before they can even get set up for an attack. The German pilots are in a panic. They radio their commanders. Acting, Indianer, over the target. They are Mustangs. They are everywhere. For Rolf Schiller, the fight is over. He is trapped. The P-51 is faster, it turns tighter, and it is above him. He sees the 6.50 caliber guns on the Mustang's wings flash. His cockpit explodes. That day, the 8th Air Force loses 69 bombers. It is a terrible price. But the Luftwaffe loses 75 fighters. And more importantly, it loses its aces. The irreplaceable veterans, the Experten, are being shot out of the sky by a plane they thought was a joke. Hermann Göring, when he is told that American fighters are strafing the airfields near Berlin, is apoplectic. It is impossible, he screams. It is a lie. He knows it is not. He knows the war in the air is lost. The bastard child has arrived. And it has just broken the back of the Luftwaffe. But the cost for the pilots, flying 6-hour missions in a cockpit the size of a phone booth, is just beginning. April 11th, 1944, 11:30 a.m., 26,000 feet over Sarau, Germany, 6 hours. That is how long Lieutenant Kit Carson of the 357th Fighter Group has been strapped into his P-51B, Nookie Bookie, 6 hours in a cockpit not much wider than his shoulders. His legs are numb. His back is a single dull ache. His entire world has shrunk to the 6-foot panel of instruments in front of him and the patch of sky visible through his oil-streaked canopy. The cold is relentless. Frost spiderwebs across the inside of his cockpit. His oxygen mask is chafed and raw against his skin, his breath a rhythmic, rasping sound in his own ears. This is the unseen, unglamorous reality of the long-range escort. It is a war of attrition, not just against the Luftwaffe, but against the human body. Sound, the hiss of the oxygen system. Carson shifts, trying to get comfortable, a hopeless endeavor. He glances at his fuel gauges. The fuselage tank, the keg, is empty. His drop tanks are long gone, floating down to German fields. He is on his internal wing tanks, his get-home fuel. And he is still hundreds of miles from his base at Leiston, England. This is the other enemy, range anxiety. Every pilot lives with it. They are flying a single-engine fighter over a continent of ice and enemies. If that Merlin, that beautiful, powerful British heart, coughs once, you are not going home. You are going into a Stalag. Bogey, 10 o'clock low, his wingman calls, his voice weary. Carson snaps his head around. His neck cracks. He spots them, 4 FW-190s, climbing to intercept. The Germans are wary. They are no longer the arrogant aces of 1943. They are young, undertrained, and terrified of the silver-nosed sharks. Taking them, Carson says, his voice flat. He rolls Nookie Bookie over. The P-51 responds instantly. This is the magic. Even after 6 hours, even at this altitude, the plane is a scalpel. He dives. The German formation, seeing the attack, breaks. They do not turn to fight. They dive for the deck, for the cover of their own flak. This is the new Luftwaffe tactic, survival. Carson and his wingmen follow, their Merlins screaming in the dive. The air war has been turned upside down. The Jagdflieger are now the prey. Carson lines up a 190, his gun sight Pipper, settling on the Black Cross. He squeezes the trigger. Sound, the deafening, ripping cannonade of 6.50 caliber guns. The .50 calibers tear the Focke-Wulf's wing off. It vaporizes. No parachute. Carson pulls up. One down. Let's go home. He does not celebrate. He is too tired. He just wants his wheels on the grass at Leiston. He has another 2 hours of flying, alone, over hostile territory. This is Big Week and the missions that followed. It is a relentless daily grinding campaign, orchestrated by Doolittle. It is not just about Berlin. It is about everywhere. The P-51s are hitting aircraft factories in Brunswick, airfields in France, rail yards in Munich. The Luftwaffe is forced to give battle. And every time they do, they lose. They lose their planes. But worse, they lose their pilots. In the Luftwaffe briefing rooms, the mood is no longer arrogant. It is desperate. General Adolf Galland, Germany's commander of fighters, is furious. He sees his Experten, the veterans of 200, 300 kills, being worn down, shot down, or killed in training accidents because they are too exhausted. The Mustang, Galland would later write, has destroyed our fighter arm. He knows the mathematics. He knows the Americans can build 1,000 P-51s for every 109s he can get. He knows the Americans are training pilots in the safe skies of Arizona, while his new pilots have 20 hours of flight time before being thrown against the 50 calibers of a 357th Group veteran. It is a war of blood and oil. And Germany is running out of both. When Kit Carson finally lands at Leiston, he cannot stand. He has to be lifted from the cockpit. He is deaf from the engine noise. He is suffering from the leans, his body so used to the slight bank of the plane that the ground feels tilted. He has been in the air for 7 hours and 20 minutes. He has done his job. He, and thousands like him, have just cleared the sky. They have achieved total, complete, and brutal air superiority. And just in time. Because the largest invasion in human history is about to begin. June 6, 1944, 7:30 a.m., a trench system near Caen, France. Oberleutnant Joseph Richter of the 21st Panzer Division pulls his collar tight. He has been listening to the thunder from the coast for 2 hours. It is the invasion. He knows it. His Panzer Grenadiers are nervous, chain-smoking, checking their MP-40 machine pistols. Richter is a veteran of the Eastern Front. He is not afraid of the Americans or the British. He is afraid of what he cannot see. Where is our air cover? A young private asks, scanning the overcast sky. Richter spits. They will be here. Reichsmarschall Göring promised. Sound, the sudden piercing whistle of a dive. Jabo, a man screams. Jabo, in the trees. Jabo's Jagdbomber, fighter bombers. Before Richter can even look up, a shape flashes over the trench, so low he can see the pilot's helmeted head. It is a P-51D, the new model with the all-glass bubble canopy. It is painted with black and white invasion stripes. Sound, a deafening, ripping roar of .50 caliber fire. The Mustang's 650s tear the earth apart. The German machine gun nests 50 meters away, simply evaporates. The ground is stitched with explosions. The Mustang pulls up, its Merlin engine howling in triumph, and circles for another pass. Richter and his men are pinned. They cannot move. They cannot fire. They can only hide. This is the payoff. This is what the long, bloody flights to Berlin were for. This is D-Day, and the Luftwaffe is nowhere. Across all of Invasion Front, the story is the same. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, commanding the defense of Normandy, is stranded on the road. His own staff car strafed and destroyed. He cannot move his panzers. He cannot resupply his men. He would later rage, his words a perfect epitaph for the Luftwaffe. The enemy has complete command of the air. He can do as he pleases. They have taken the roof off Europe. We have nothing to oppose them. The German pilots who do take off are not aces. They are teenage boys, thrown into the air to die. A single F-190, its pilot desperate, appears over Omaha Beach. In less than 30 seconds, 12 P-51s are on its tail. It is swatted from the sky. The hunters have become the hunted. And the shepherds have become the executioners. The mission for the Mustang pilots has changed. Their new hunting ground is the deck. They are released on free roam patrols, their orders simple. Destroy anything that moves. Music, aggressive, predatory, a driving rhythm. They hunt in packs. They find a German supply train. The first P-51 hits the engine with 20mm cannons, a ground attack variant. The train grinds to a halt. The next 3 Mustangs roll in, a daisy chain of destruction, strafing the boxcars one by one with 50 caliber incendiary rounds. They find a column of Panzer tanks stalled in a traffic jam. The tanks are safe from the machine guns. They are not safe from the VAR rockets mounted under the Mustang's wings. The P-51s become dive bombers, unleashing a salvo of fire that turns a 60-ton Tiger tank into a burning coffin. The plane that the Luftwaffe mocked as a failed interceptor is now killing their generals in their staff cars, blowing up their fuel dumps and strangling their armies. By the end of 1944, the Luftwaffe is a ghost. In a final desperate act on New Year's Day 1945, Operation Bodenplatte, they throw their last reserves against Allied airfields. It is a slaughter. The German pilots destroy planes on the ground, but they are met in the air by the P-51s. The Luftwaffe loses over 200 pilots it cannot replace. It is the final nail. The P-51 Mustang, a bastard child of an American airframe and a British engine, had done more than just escort bombers to Berlin and back. It had systematically, relentlessly, and brutally dismantled the German war machine. The little friend had ensured that the sun would set on the Third Reich under a sky that belonged completely and totally to the Allies, and